Hi, I'm Joe, and this is IT News Now. Thank you for joining us. So today we're going to talk with an identity and access management expert about the recent cybersecurity breach that affected several high-profile Twitter accounts. In this attack, hackers found a way to infiltrate the Twitter accounts of Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, Uber, Apple, and several other public and political figures. They sent out tweets from these accounts requesting Bitcoin payments and managed to convince a good number of Twitter users. The scam collected nearly $120,000 in Bitcoin. We've learned that the breach was implemented from within Twitter's platform, using an administrative tool designed for moderating accounts. It appears that in some of these cases, hackers were able to access private information like direct messages, phone numbers, and email addresses. While this attack seemed motivated to con people out of Bitcoin, there's still a lot we don't know. So as promised, joining us today, we have an identity and access management expert. We're going to dig into some of these bigger questions. His name's Robert Ivy. He's from GCA. Robert, thank you for joining me today, and I'd like to give you a moment to introduce yourself.
Sure, Joe. Thanks for having me. My name is Robert Ivy from GCA Technology Services. I'm the Chief Technology Officer, and at GCA, we secure your digital identities.
Great. It's good to have you. So can you explain how hackers were able to gain access to these Twitter accounts?
Sure, Joe. So initially when this occurred, the question was this coercion or was this a trick? And it has recently come to light that this was a technique known as spear phishing. In spear phishing, much like phishing, which most people know phishing, that's the email from the Nigerian prince who's going to send you money. You just need to send him a little bit of money in escrow first. Spear phishing is more targeted. They either have it coming from a trusted source or they're able to make it look official, or typically both. So what happens is a Twitter employee receives an email that they think is legitimate. They click on a link within the email, they go log in, and that login is actually going to a nefarious source where they steal the credential. So in spear phishing, what's actually occurred is we've tricked an employee or multiple employees of Twitter into giving us their credentials so that we can now log in to the Twitter systems as an employee. This is not a hack per se because they didn't actually do anything. They used the tools as they were intended to be used. It's just not the person that was intending to be used for.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. So would you have any advice for Twitter for how this could have been prevented?
Sure, Joe. So I would recommend three things. The first one most people are already aware of, and a lot of companies already do it: security awareness training. Let's make our end users aware of the type of attacks that are coming at them so that they can thwart them themselves. The second one is the factors. Because of how powerful this tool is and the damage that can be done by people gaining access to it, let's use a stronger factor that's not susceptible to an attack such as spear phishing. While a password and even an SMS text message or a PIN code or something in that nature is very easily stolen if we trick one of our users, or if one of our users gets tricked in a spear phishing attack, if we use something stronger like a FIDO2 U2F token, such as a YubiKey, Windows 10 Hello, or one of the dozens of others that are out there, even if one of my users clicks on a spear phishing attack, they don't lose their credential and the attacker does not gain access to the system. The third thing I'd look at is something like a UBA tool. UBA stands for End User Behavioral Analytics. What these tools do is they look at the normal behavior of our users, not Twitter users, but these admins. What does their normal behavior look like inside of these admin tools? It sets a baseline. Now, if an attacker gains access to the account, starts mass making changes like happened in this Twitter attack, that baseline now becomes anomalous behavior. That anomaly can be flagged after it is detected, which will be almost immediate, and then we could shut down not only the access to the employee account who's been stolen and is causing the damage, but we can probably also shut down all of the accounts that have been impacted by this stolen account.
Thanks, Robert. That's good advice. So some people might look at this situation and feel less comfortable about hosting their sensitive data out in the cloud. What would you say to them?
Well, Joe, the first thing you have to understand is that Twitter, because of what they do, because of the regulatory compliance around them, they have to have tools like these so that they can help recover these accounts when someone forgets their password or loses access to their email. This way, an account can be recovered, and Twitter has to have that technique or that back door to allow them to get in and recover these accounts. When you start moving into the cloud providers where companies put their data, such as Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, or even Microsoft Azure, what you have to understand is there's no employee at these companies that has access to your data in these clouds. So if you're worried about an employee at Google or Microsoft or Amazon being tricked in something like a spear phishing attack like this into giving away access to your data, that worry you don't need to deal with. What you need to concern yourself with is making sure that the users that you control, which are your users into your environment, aren't going to fall for a spear phishing attack. And that goes back to our three things. The first one is your security awareness training. The second one is using strong factors. And the third one is potentially even using tools like UBAs to analyze their behavior and flag anomalous behavior before they're able to run rampant and cause a lot of damage.
Thank you for the insight, Robert, and thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
And to you viewers, thank you for watching. And if you would like to learn more about what GCA does for their clients to prevent things like this from happening, check out gca.net.